Hi, I'm Lexi, and you're listening and watching into Lexi's Book Nook. This is a podcast. It's also a booktube, a book talk, and a bookstagram. Since you're here and watching me, this is my Book Nook, where we will talk about all things books. I have a podcast that goes over books for each month. But right here today is a bonus episode for a book that wasn't on my list initially. This February is all about romance, and I read a lot of romance books. If you want to check those episodes out, they are revealed on Spotify, Patreon, and also here on BookTube. So if you want to listen in, you can find it on Spotify again. Look back in your history on YouTube, you can find it. Or if you want to support the podcast and continue to see my beautiful face and my book nook and inspiration for your own, see the book covers, that is also available for $3 a month, and you can support the podcast. But today is not a book from my normal reading list, but it's about Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. This is a Reese Witherspoon book, and I usually will do Reese picks for each month. This was actually December's book. I got a little late, so I'm reviewing it now for a bonus episode. And I will go over like a little summary. Normally, I will have my thoughts on it and then some discussion questions. But today, it's a little bit different. This book is a little different, so we're not going to do discussion questions, but rather some major takeaways from Cheryl Strayed's book. So this is written and narrated by Cheryl Strayed. So the summary is, it's like a collection of letters and notes to Cheryl, who at the time was working as an advice columnist named Sugar. And that was her pen name, so nobody really knew her name. And she's given her advice to different people who write in. They have their own questions, situations, problems, and they want advice, basically. So Cheryl gives them to her, and she discloses a lot of information about herself. And I think that's what makes her so relatable, and what it makes people want to hear more from her and want more advice because they think, oh, she is someone like me. Now, she's not a psychologist, so she can't really give like coping mechanisms, but she does give some major takeaways from this book, and it covers a lot of topics. I think this is a good mental health book because life throws us a lot of different obstacles that we have to overcome, and Cheryl gives some advice on how we can do that. So first is to acknowledge your suffering. Your suffering is real and natural. Nothing you're thinking is or feeling is wrong, and you're not alone. So it's good to acknowledge all these problems first, acknowledge what you're going through, acknowledge what you feel, and try to determine what that is. Try to figure out what you're feeling and why. And then accept it. Accept reality, because you can't choose the cards you're dealt with. Accept that life isn't fair. Sometimes things that are not our responsibility become our problem. Bad things happen. Bad things happen to good people for no reason all the time. And there's nothing we can do about it. And we have to accept that. Because life isn't black and white. It's not happening to good people or bad people. Bad things aren't happening to good people, and good things aren't happening to bad people. Life throws us so many different things at different times in our lives, and it's like a test. And we just have to accept that and try to move with it. Being human is complicated. People don't do what they should or what you want because they do what they can. They do what they want. We're all savages inside. We all want to be loved and esteemed. We all want to take care of ourselves. We all want something for just us. The past is fixed. What happened, happened. What it is, what it is. You can never change the past. And there's nothing you can do about it. So we have to accept it. The future is uncertain. Things, relationships, and people change. Holding on to old truths doesn't make them true. And accept that this moment, too, will pass away. We also have to accept responsibility, but you can choose how to play them. We can accept in feeling sorry for ourselves, but stop feeling sorry for ourselves. Stop self-pity and emotions because they change nothing. The only person we can change is ourselves. We can't change other people. We can't make them do anything. Change is not a nice thing to say, or change is a hard thing to do. So as you continue to listen to this episode, you can tell this is a very serious conversation. But not all these stories are so serious. There's a lot of humor in them as well. The stories are very human. They're very practical. They're very relevant. But don't shy away from these conversations. Stay tuned because this might actually help you or maybe someone else. The next step is to act. Draw strength from others. Find and take courage from others who have suffered like you. Seek support and advice from people you love and who love you. Use formal safety nets. For example, like doctors, therapy. Try to get medications from them. If you can, don't push it because that's going to be their recommendation. You can't make people do anything. Use informal safety nets like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. Communicate mindfully is another action we can do. Let it out, find a place for it, or it will rule you. Ask questions, understand the bigger picture. Explain your feelings without making someone else responsible for them. That's a hard one to do. Be honest with others in a way that allows them to make healthy decisions. Another action we can do is to think or understand. Think things through on paper, write things down, get a journal, drop lists, make diagrams, to-do lists. Think from the perspective of others. That can be hard too. Map out all your options, pros and cons. Map out the consequences. Identify your motivations, desires, and fears. Think from the perspective from your best self, whether it's being generous, reasonable, forgiving, loving, big-hearted, grateful, etc. Visualize what you wish you had done a year from now, and ask what there is to lose or gain from each option. Another action is to have the courage to act. You don't always need to have a reason that you can verbalize. Trust yourself. Live out what you already know to be true. Be true to your truest self, to yourself. Don't act inconsistently with your gut or inner core. Try to think with your mind. Think it out. Don't do things you know are wrong. And identify excuses or lies that you use to avoid doing what you fear most. Another action. Change what you can. Distance yourself from sources of harm. And this is not running away. Set healthy boundaries. They are not judgments, punishments, or betrayals. They teach people how to treat you. They teach you how to respect yourself and treat yourself. Don't prioritize the short term over the long term. Reach hard even if it's difficult. That's hard too. Pick and stay true to the one most important thing, even if that means taking some risks. Start with the smallest of steps. It's going to be hard, but you have to keep going. Be kind to yourself. Take small, attainable goals that you know that you can achieve and build from there. Another action step is to be patient and don't give up. You can't always escape, and that's my big thing. I tend to run away from situations. Don't do it. You can't work everything out at once, and accept that. The process of recovery is nonlinear. There will be circles and setbacks, and that's why you will mess up, and it's okay. Try to be the person you want to be, but don't kick yourself when you're the person you are. And remember, this moment too will pass away. Another action is to forgive. Understand that failing is one role. Does not mean that failing as a whole. For example, you can fail as a role as a husband, but that does not mean that you can fail as a father, because they are two separate things. Forgiveness means acknowledging and letting go of anger or pain. It does not mean allowing the forgiven to stomp all over you once again. I suffer with that. Reframe internally. Rewrite your narratives. Narratives define who we are. We can change even the ingrained ones, but it takes time and effort. Practice gratitude for the tiny, beautiful things that this book is titled. Gratitude defeats jealousy, depression, and anxiety. One of my things that I do for myself, I journal every day, and it has little prompts in there. For mine, it's a 3-minute reflection, like what I'm going to cast away, what I'm going to let go of, things that I'm going to focus on, and things that I'm grateful for. And I try to find 3 things that I'm grateful for. And they can be as small as being able to sit down and enjoy your coffee before going to work. It can be, thank you that I forgot my wallet and that person behind me in the Chick-fil-A line paid for my meal. Things like that. And then we can move on to the last one, to be there for someone else. You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help them to find it within themselves. And this is a quote from Galileo Galilei. Your job is not to solve the problem, but to acknowledge and accept over and over and over again, even if it feels lame and insufficient or monotonous. Share stories to give strength and courage, soften with admission and vulnerability. And if someone asks for advice, know you can't change them. Be honest and don't meddle. Be compassionate but not judgmental, and give them some tools to help. And be there if and when things fall apart. So this is a very serious bonus episode, but I hope this really helps. And this is a Reese Witherspoon pick, so I will normally do these every month anyway. This is for December 2022, and I look forward to December 2023. I hope you stick around and you keep listening to my booktube, to my podcast. You find me on my website. It's Lexi's Book Nook. That is on Instagram and my website as well. That is spelled Lexies, booknook.com, where you can find all my books. You can find tiny, beautiful things in my review. And there's also an affiliate link if you want to buy your own copy. And I highly recommend it because I think this was a really good book for anybody at all. But if you buy it through my affiliate link, I will make a commission off your sales, but it does not mean an extra cost to you. So I hope you keep listening. I hope you find me on YouTube as BookTube, on my Spotify app, Patreon, if you want to support the podcast, that's $3 a month. And I hope you keep on reading.